Welcome to the Foster Friendly Podcast, where we come together to make a difference in the lives of children in foster care and the families who care for them. Foster Friendly communities are part of a nationwide movement by America's Kids Belong that helps people from all walks of life take action and help kids and families thrive. You'll hear from former foster youth, foster and adoptive parents, social workers, faith and business leaders, and other experts on how to engage in meaningful ways. Our hosts Brian, Travis, and Courtney explore inspiring stories of everyday people making a difference in foster care where they live and work.
Hello to the Foster Friendly Podcast audience. I'm your host, Brian Mavis, with my co-host, Courtney Williams. Courtney, your adjective for today is tech savvy.
Oh, that's a good one for me.
And I don't know that it's accurate. I'm just using it as context for today's guest. And so if by comparison, maybe you're tech savvy, like anybody who can operate something more sophisticated than an Etch-a-Sketch, I think, wow, that's pretty good.
Then I'm really tech savvy.
Okay, great. Awesome. Well, today, why we're tech savvy is because our guest, Ryan O'Donnell. Ryan, it's good to meet you. We're looking forward to learning about what you've got going to help families.
Good to be here. Thanks for having me, Brian and Courtney.
Yeah.
Let's get tech savvy together.
Yeah. And by the way, for our listeners who are like, uh-oh, I don't want to listen to this episode, it actually could have some help for you. So hang in there. So Ryan, a little bio about you that I'm, again, learning as our listeners learn is that you are a serial tech entrepreneur. I love cereal, so I that's great.
I like the Frosted Flakes.
Yes.
Captain Crunch.
Did you invent those things? That's amazing. Okay. So you have had several tech entrepreneurial endeavors, and you also are a former foster parent, and you're using technology now for good. And we're going to learn more about that today. You're based in Raleigh, North Carolina, where our teammates is, and that's how we got to learn about you. And you're the CEO and founder of Sunlight and the creator of Your Case Plan. And that's where we're going to be focusing a lot of our attention today, is understanding that application, Your Case Plan. So how's that for an intro? Anything you'd like to add to that?
You nailed it, Brian.
All right. We know your
great.
favorite cereal. Yes. Great. And so it's good to have you here today. We're looking forward to learning about what you've created that's going to help kids and families.
Yeah, definitely. Well, excited to be here, excited to share what we've been building, much like a lot of y'all's work and everything I've seen from America Kids Belong and Foster Friendly. Like, it's born out of all the things that we faced when we were foster parents in many ways.
Yes. Yes, I have a tech friend who years ago he started a tech company, sold it, and was successful. And I said, boil all your wisdom down into one nutshell. Like, what's the one thing that you would want to communicate to people? And I loved his answer. He said, feel the problem before you try to solve it. Mm. And I think that's what you felt the problem. And so you're trying to solve it. So looking forward to that.
Yeah. Before we get into that fun, serious stuff, let's talk about some really fun stuff that you've done. Reading through your bio, you've done a lot of impactful things. One of the most fun things that I read about was that you are the Guinness World Record holder for holding the largest food drive in 24 hours in a single location, feeding over 500,000. Yeah.
That's what I really want to talk about today. Is this story? Yeah, you know what?
Food drives.
Yeah. For our second episode, we'll do foster care. I want to know about this Guinness Book of World Records thing.
Yeah, so tell us about that. How did that even come about?
Jesus said, take care of the widow, the orphan. He also said, feed the hungry, right?
Yeah,
But no, I mean, I was a high school student and was a part of a big effort at our school. We had this crazy idea. I live from North Carolina. And at the time, North Carolina was one of the worst states in the country for childhood food insecurity. So we wanted to do a big food drive. And we saw that there was a world record out there. And it was held by some group in Canada. So
Oh.
being some
Oh,
competitive high
yeah,
school students,
totally.
we were like,
Smash those Canadians. And we
Yeah.
love our Canadian
Yeah.
listeners, by the way. But
yes,
yeah, we're
yes,
still going to smash you.
Yeah.
yes. The Canadian segment, we were like, look, we can beat y'all. We're down here in North Carolina. We had to raise over 500,000 pounds of food in 18 hours.
Wow.
We did it my junior year. We came up short. We only raised about 300,000. We came back the
Ah,
next year. We had a little more fire in our belly. We
I love
raised
that.
a little over 500,000, got the record, and to this day, still has not been broken. So
Wow.
I've been asked about this a few times. If anyone wants to break it, like hit me up. I'm in for the first 50,000 pounds. I'd love to break the record again. But it was intense. It was a
Okay,
really cool experience.
how did you? Okay, we are now switching our topic today, listeners.
Officially.
How did you weigh? How did you weigh all the food? Like, was it like did you go to? Were you at like where you weigh trucks or something? Or
I mean, kind of. So our school parking lot got converted into the location of the largest food drive. We had about 18 18 wheelers, right? So Walmart was our big sponsor, Chick-fil-A. We had a group that literally loaned us all of their pallets and weigh stations. We had to inspect every single item of food to make sure it wasn't expired,
Wow.
and then we had to weigh it. And literally, I mean, you're getting something that's maybe like 4 foot by 4 foot by 4 foot by 4 foot, cube full of food. Weigh it, then load it onto a truck. Load that truck 18 times. That's how you get to over 500,000
okay,
pounds of food. So
wow.
lots of math. We were, we really liked math at our high school. So
That's so cool. I love that story. Okay, all right. Listeners. We're switching gears back to foster care or the Foster Friendly podcast. Switching gears, you're probably not in high school when this happens, but you become a foster parent. Is that right?
yeah.
Not
My
unless you
wife
broke
and
a world record as the youngest foster parent.
I don't think they license 18-year-olds.
All
There's
right.
probably a lot of reasons for that. But no, my wife and I, who we met in high school, both went to NC State, both, got started in our jobs, bought our first house. Like a lot of foster families, we heard a presentation at our church about the foster care crisis. So, we signed up, did our 40 hours of training, and that was 2019. So I was no
Okay.
longer 18 years old.
So you are young looking. So how old were you and your wife when you became licensed foster parents?
I would say it was like 26 or so.
Okay, yeah, it's pretty young for foster
Yeah.
parents for sure.
Yeah. We bought our first house. We were, thinking about starting our family at our church. There was it was kind of a season at our church. We're talking about giving God your first and your best. And we, decided to delay having biological children a few years to put a child in foster care first. And, that's kind of like how we got into it.
Yeah.
And, we could talk about what happens next, but what we find is that, we just put our yes on the table and just kept on asking ourselves that question over and over again, like
I
so
love
many foster
that.
parents do.
I love that. Yeah, my daughter, that's how she also started her family, was through fostering before they had their own children, and then several of my grandchildren now are adopted. So tell us more, like back to the feel the pain before you solve it. What was your experience as a foster parent that got you wondering, like, is there a better way to do this?
Yeah, well, I'm a tech guy by background, so I built and sold a HR software company. I was obsessed about, how do we recruit people? How do we retain people? How do we onboard them effectively? And I would, describe my experience as a foster parent as like living in a completely different world, right? Like tech startup by day, and then like world of fax machines and snail mail. But it wasn't, 9 to 5. It was 24/7, 365.
Yes.
And our foster son, he came to live with us summer of 2019 and lived with us for almost 3 years. And, a lot of those journey moments that you never forget about I'll never forget, like the first time we met his social worker was about a month in after he was placed in our home. And she told us, mom's bad, dad's unknown, he's got no family. So would you adopt? And we didn't get into it one way or the other. We were like, whatever the kid needs.
Mm-hmm.
And what we found out about a year into it, it's the middle of COVID, we found out they knew who dad was all along, but no one ever bothered reaching out. He didn't even know he had a son, let alone a son in foster care. He's got a grandma like 10 minutes away, who's a pastor of a church in the same town, never reached out to. A whole family that they kind of writ off. So I was like, how do we miss this? Right. And I just got really obsessed about like, what are all of the challenges that can actually be solved in foster care? Because there's a lot of big challenges. Like there's so many things you could address to make the system actually deliver for the children and families. But I got really obsessed about like, what are the things that like I could maybe do something about where we might be able to make a big impact. And for us, it was like revolving door of caseworkers, paper notes, no systems in place. So like what took me 5 minutes to find his whole family with Google and Facebook and, was stuff that like the local Department of Social Services didn't have. Right. So we're just like, what ways can we build tools that would actually help, solve some of the problems that keep kids stuck in care for far too long?
Yeah, I love that. It's so fascinating. I'm sure all of us had these conversations before with foster parents. It's hard, you get this kid into your care and then you get attached to them, and that really hard thing of wanting the right thing for that kid. And sometimes people just can't see that, right? But I see you, like you noticed, why would I keep holding on to this if there's family out there? And then what can we do to solve this problem? That how many kids does that happen to, where there's somebody right down the street that loves this kid and knows this kid and how they're in care, or so you take that situation and you realize you can do something about it with your expertise, and so you start up your case plan, and so this is used across multiple states to improve communication and collaboration within the child welfare system and their cases, the parents, the children, and so that those parents have access to high quality legal representation. Tell us like more, how does that work? And again, using even your story, what helped inspire that to come to what it is today?
Yeah, I mean, it really all got started out of the relationship that we formed with our foster son's father. When we heard about him, he had moved down during COVID to like call up each county office to try to say like, hey, like I heard I have a son in the foster care system. Like, how do I prove that? So, he spent like 3 to 6 months just trying to get someone to return his call. And then, he did the same background checks I did as a foster parent. He supplied all of his, pay stubs and proof of housing, all that kind of stuff. But ultimately, it took about 5 years to get his son home after that. And when you think about it, it's like you're a non-offending parent. You don't really even have a case plan to work, but we're going to give you one anyway, just in case. And, we first started building the app was just like to help keep track of visits, like, because we were supervising those. We got to do a ton of co-parenting together. We got to tell them all the things about his son, share photos, So we were just building things like to help us co-parent. And then as the case went on, we saw a huge opportunity to help make sure that he could navigate the system. So we'd send like text reminders for court through the app, or help him communicate with his attorney or with his social worker. So that's kind of how we got started. Was really just like helping support them on the path to keeping their family together. And then what we've seen is just really so many different use cases. People often describe it as like my chart for foster care, because like we need one place for everyone to get on the same page and actually work towards whatever the goals are for that family.
Okay, so Ryan, let's. I'm gonna just like break it real down as simple as possible. One, can you answer the question? What problem did you feel that you were trying to solve?
Yeah, I mean, I think at the end of the day, I got so frustrated seeing our foster son being stuck in care unnecessarily.
Mm-hmm.
And the reasons for that were all communication issues. It was, we got a new caseworker and that person hasn't told everyone on the case. We've got a parent who just changed their phone number and only one person knows that new phone number. So we've got people not knowing when their court dates are. And if people don't show up to court, then we got court delays and kids get stuck in care for like 3 months, 6 months longer.
Okay.
So I just saw all these communication issues and I was like, we got to fix that. Like that's easy to solve for.
So when you were creating this and then trying to use it, create it for people beyond yourself, you were creating it to help your own foster son, but that I could help a lot of other kids. Who ends up with, is it the foster parent who's the primary client? Is it multiple clients as far as it's the foster parent, it's the caseworker, it's the bio family? Like how's that all work?
Yeah, it's really a platform for everyone. So we think there's so much coordination that has to happen, right, between so many different agencies. We were therapeutic foster parents through a private agency, right? So I had a public agency, private agency. We've got parents. We've got a GAL program. We've got attorneys for everyone. We've got the whole court system. So, with us, really what we have is a tool where anyone can sign up and get started. It's free for all families, right? So we don't charge foster parents. We don't charge bio parents or kinship caregivers. It's free for CASA, GAL volunteers. And basically what we give everyone is a secure way to communicate. So like as a foster parent, you can get on, claim your free account, and instead of getting like a Google Voice number, you can use our app to communicate securely with your caseworker, with the bio parent, with the CASA volunteer, things like that. And then if other folks want to get on the app too, they can join. And for agencies, they can get a paid plan to manage their caseworkers or manage their attorneys to keep track of all their cases. But really, it's all about just like get rid of all the barriers to communication. So try to make it as easy as possible for people to get started.
So it's all based around like if say you have multiple people involved in a child's life, it's probably then based around that kid's number. Let's say that, right? Is that, or am I like, okay, how do we know that we're all talking about the same
case?
Same case.
Yeah, each state's a little bit different, and every family, every placement can also be a little bit different. We generally think about it from the court's perspective, like we follow a case docket number.
Okay.
So like there's a source of truth in some state database as to like who are all the parties involved.
Yes.
Who are their attorneys? Who's the caseworker? In some states, foster parents have legal rights for information, court notices. Sometimes they're a party, sometimes they're not. So we really kind of follow each state's like structure, but then just give a really easy way. So like you can just join as a foster parent, or you can just join as a bio parent and like invite your attorney or look up your public defender, look up your CASA volunteer, things like that, and just connect with them like you would on, any other platform. But in this case, much more secure than like handing out your phone number, your email, or
right.
want people to add you on Facebook or something.
So can you share a couple of like just anecdotal stories of how like some families use this and how it helped?
Yeah. So we about a year old, we launched in Oklahoma first through their statewide Office of Family Representation. So they provide all the attorneys to all the kids and all the parents in the child welfare system. So, we really start off as a tool to like improve attorney-client engagement, make sure people know when their court dates are, make sure people know like what information do I need to provide and when do I need to provide it by and who needs to get it, and how do we keep everyone all on the same page? So we've seen like that, like just helping people show up for court and be prepared. Like that's kind of like square one. And then there's all the stuff that happens after court, right? Like, let's start working the case plan. Let's make sure you get the referrals you need to get. Let's make sure you're able to know when your visits are, so, you can confirm your visits in the app and you can share photos in the app from the visits, right? Instead of like what happens today is, some people are told the visit's happening, some people are told the visit's not happening, and sometimes you show up to a park and no one's there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we try to avoid those things. We try to make sure people know, when all the important dates are, so that they can show up and kind of keep track on all the different items on the case plan.
So, and again, I'm asking some questions. You're like, that's like a dumb question. Why does that matter?
It's like one of these crazy things of like the child welfare system for far too many people is about like checking a lot of boxes. And a lot of times like completing a case plan is not the same as completing a parenting capacity test, but in so many ways, like we need to show that you have addressed the issues that led to that removal. And, I just think if the system's so hard to navigate and, you're dealing with a handwritten note here or a text message there, like that can be difficult for a foster parent to deal with.
Mm-hmm.
But for the actual biological family navigating that, it's incredibly difficult, and we spend a ton of time with them, with their attorneys, with child attorneys, and asking like what problems they're facing. And we hear like time and time again stories of folks calling a phone number that has a voicemail box that's full, of sending a clean drug screen that never gets brought up in court, of information that gets gatekeeped, right? Where as a foster parent, I might know something that I really need the CASA volunteer or the caseworker to know, but their supervisor's not relaying that, so we just saw there's so many things where, like a lack of transparency creates like terrible outcomes for kids, right?
Right.
So
Yeah.
that's really what we want to be able to help address.
Yeah. So the difference would be, well, a kid could have been in care for a matter of months. Now they're in for years. Because of all these lapses in communication. So I definitely see how what you're doing could help accelerate reunification or accelerate permanency, however that permanency happens. So yeah, that's great. So question then. Like you mentioned Oklahoma, and Oklahoma seemingly has a contract with you so that the government side of things is helping fund this work. What happens to people who live in states where the government isn't contracting with you? Is there any part of this application that can still be utilized by foster families?
Yeah. Well, I mean, really excited to share a few announcements. So we just raised about $1 million to expand the platform. We're currently live in Oklahoma, North Carolina, and West Virginia. And with that $1 million, we've got people who have signed up on our waiting list in over 30 different states. And that's everything from like foster parents and CASA volunteers to bio parents and even judges. Like I have like chief justices in different counties who want to bring us to, their communities. So that funding is going to help us launch in those places. We're basically rolling out a free plan where if you're a caseworker or an attorney, you can use the app for free for your first 10 clients. And, it's always free for the families, so, you can, join the waiting list and get started, invite your caseworker, invite your, CASA volunteer to get started from there.
Okay, so we've got caseworkers who listen to this podcast. We've foster parents who listen to it. How can they say, I want to be where do they go to say, how do I get on this list? How can I start using this?
Yeah, just go to yourcaseplan.com. You can sign up right there on the homepage to either download the app if we're in your area. You can check to see if we're in your state or with your agency. And if we're not, you can join the waiting list. And we also have a form letter that you can send to your foster parent, your licensing agency, if you're a caseworker, to your supervisor. The whole platform is, HIPAA compliant, super secure, a lot better than sending random text messages or Google Voice, so we try to make it easy for people to get started with it.
Yeah, great.
and just all the people involved. I mean, I live in a small county, foster parent, and I just got a phone call last week from a guardian ad litem asking me about a kiddo. And I was like, he hasn't been in my home for 2 months now. And she's like, oh, I wasn't informed. I'm like, what? You're the GAL. How do you not know this?
Yeah.
You know, this kiddo's not even in
Yeah.
my home anymore. So yeah, I totally see the benefit of being able to be, like I said, we're a small community, and we're having these lapses in communication, but to be able to have a place
Yeah.
like that. And then we just interviewed, we did a reunification series in June, and we interviewed a mom whose kids were removed, and she told us, she's like, I didn't even know what my case plan was. I didn't even know what it was I was supposed to do to get my kids back. And she's like, if I had known that from the very, very beginning, I could have been working on that from the get-go, but I didn't even know. Like, I was not informed for so long what I had to do to get my kids back. Like, it just breaks my heart.
You know, I think we have this, you know, feeling as foster parents. I know, like, at least in a lot of the like Facebook groups I'm in, you know, these bio parents, they just got to work their case plans, you know, and like there's a lot of presumptions in that statement that they have a case plan, that the caseworkers actually walk them through it, that there are actually referrals made to providers. I mean, we're seeing some crazy stuff. I mean, we have you know, now reached, you know, thousands of families, and it's just crazy to see like how many times a family needs a referral for a service. And let's say there's like 3 to 6 months before the next court date. A good caseworker is making that referral like within a week after that court date. A bad one, and unfortunately, far too many, it's the week before the next court date. So you just lose like 6 months, and the waiting list is also 6 months. You know, so like it's really, you know, unfortunate, but you know, that's the kind of thing that, you know, good software can like shine a light on those things and help share with everyone involved, like what's really happening here. Is this a family that is working really hard and the deck stacked against them? Is this a caseworker that, you know, might be burnt out and needs some support? You know, is this a placement that's stable, unstable? You know, it's just like get to what's actually happening so that we can make the best decision with the best data.
Yeah. And I love hearing, you know, go back to what I said before. You obviously you're an advocate for the kids, but also for the birth families. And that's just not seen across the board as much as it needs to be right now. So not saying that all cases should go to reunification, but just the more we can advocate for the families and be on their side and be part of a team and let them feel that from us, the better the kids are going to feel we're advocating for them as well, usually, right? When they're wanting to be back with their family or family they don't even know, like in your case. So I appreciate
I think
that.
there's a great, you know, all of these cases are unique. And I was talking with a judge last week, and it was, you know, we live in the gray area, right? And we want to be wrong as the least times as possible, right? We're trying to avoid the missteps, right? And we're going to get it wrong on both sides. But if we can minimize that, that's really one of the big goals. And I had heard from one attorney put it really well. And that's that like family preservation is unique to that family. And that should be directed by that family, by that parent, by that child. Some children don't want to go home to mom or dad. They want to go home to grandma or their aunt or their uncle. Some know exactly which relatives they don't want to go back to. And we should like know who those people are. We should listen to them, right? You know, some families, they're okay with their children staying with a non-relative that they have a great relationship with. And I think, you know, when you kind of like strip out some of the, you know, factions of different, you know, groups, you kind of get to like, what's best for that family, and has everyone been heard? And that's kind of where I think we can hopefully shine a light on.
I love that sensitivity to that, because it seems like too much has been applied to one size fits all solutions, and that I think you articulated really well that every family has got some unique things going on that allow for the best possible outcome if you pay attention to those uniquenesses.
So before they close this out, you're also involved in putting some time and energy into affordable housing solutions, specifically in understanding that foster care is that pipeline to homelessness oftentimes. So tell us a little bit more about that work and the impact you've seen through it.
Yeah, is crazy how we like stumbled into this. Um, for the backstory here, we had ended up buying a house um, for our foster son's dad because they wouldn't reunify because they didn't like where he was living. And they told him he needed to have a 2-bedroom with no roommates, with a year-long lease that he could afford, where he could make 3 times the rent. So you could do the math, and he wasn't living in New York
Impossible.
City,
Yeah.
or LA County. He was living in kind of a more rural suburban part of North Carolina, and he was working at a restaurant. And it was literally cheaper for us to buy a place, fix it up, than to find a place in where, he wouldn't be able to necessarily pay for it. So, we just thought there was a really interesting opportunity from a real estate side of, um, could we help subsidize properties to give youth and parents kind of affordable housing solutions that make it easier to reunify or easier to get started on the path to independence. And there are 2 federal programs that support this, the Family Reunification Voucher Program and the Fostering Youth to Independence Voucher Program, which if anyone's listening and they don't have those in their area, should totally try to figure out how to bring those there. But what we found, I talked to our local child welfare director, and we're talking about all the different things we could fix. And she just says, like, Brian, we've got dozens of kids who have aged out of the system. They're now young adults. We helped them get this voucher. It took them 6 months to get it. It pays above market rates. It's guaranteed for 3 years. And they can't find housing. Like, no one will rent to them because they have to accept the voucher. So would you? So I started talking to all my friends who are kind of working in the real estate world. I said, like, is there something we could do here? And, kind of formed a little group together of folks that are trying to increase the supply of housing available for former foster youth and families with these voucher programs. And it's been really neat. I mean, we got started. We had the first one was we had a 4-bedroom house that 2 moms who had aged out of the system and were at risk of CPS involvement. We were able to get them housing that was a mix of paid for by these vouchers and then private donors, and the moms pay for it themselves too. And then we've seen some other really cool stories of how folks are having, their churches help with down payment assistance, covering the, emergency funds kind of things to help families actually get the housing that they need, or to help youth like furnish their first apartment. So it's been really interesting to see. And, we think about like, how much does it cost to keep a kid in care for a few years versus like, if you've got a youth in the system who's, recently aged out, like if we can help them get housing, like that's the foundation for them to help get a good education, good job, prevent kind of future involvement in the child welfare system, and hopefully like break that cycle that for like so many families is, one generation was in the system and then their children are also in the system. So if we can break that and it not be a 3rd generation, that's really the goal of some of this housing work that we've been doing.
Well, that's wonderful. And I just want to point out to our listeners that you're a great example of a person who is using what they know and just trying to apply it to ways to help kids who have been in care or who have aged out of care. And to our listeners, there's ways that you've been, there are experiences that you have, there are gifts that you have that can be applied in unique ways that can benefit children in ways that don't fit the normal template. And so whether it's technology or it's making blueberry muffins, like something that you can do that that can help a child feel like they have hope. And so thank you, Ryan, for being a great example of that.
Yeah.
I appreciate that.
So, Ryan, we always like to ask our guess this to answer this question or finish the sentence. What kids in foster care really need is.
All right, I'm a little biased because I'm about to go to a children's law conference right after this.
Mhm.
Yeah, I just think at the end of the day, like children need all of the supports to have like a safe and thriving life. But one of the supports that is all too often missing is high quality legal representation, right? Like we can pass all the policies, we can go to our respective legislatures and pass bills. We can have, program policy recommendations. But if you don't have an attorney who can fight for your legal rights, you don't have those rights. And when we are in those courtrooms, that's the one thing I wish that like all kids had is, and their families, someone who's going to fight for them, who's going to know them, who's going to get to know them, who's going to, really fight for what they want. And, we're making some good strides on that, but that's the number one thing in my mind. It's kind of a weird answer, but it's one of the things where I think we historically have not done a very good job of supporting them that way.
That's so good. Yeah, we asked that question of so many of our interviewees, and we get a lot of great answers. And I don't think I've heard that one before, and I really appreciate it. I love the variety of answers. I mean, if we could have all those things be realities to all the answers that people have given, but man, that is definitely a unique answer. But I really appreciate it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
If y'all could wave a magic wand, like how do y'all answer it? I was curious, like, what's y'all's favorite answer that you've seen?
It is. I think to me, the thing is when people always ask me, friends, family members, people that are getting into foster care, like, you hear about the system and the system's so messed up and, what do we need to change? And I'm like, it's not just one easy little thing or it ought to be changed. So I feel like we hear all these answers and they're all often the things that need to be changed, better training, better legal representation, better quality of homes, better help for bio families, like all the things we hear, it's like all of that together.
Yes.
It's not one simple thing.
That would be my answer too. Yeah, I appreciate the complexity and that there is not a silver bullet. There's a multifaceted approach. But I'm so glad you mentioned this one because I think it's been one of the missing ones. It's like a puzzle we're putting together, and we've got this really significant piece. I mean, it might be one of the corner pieces, and we're like, where is that piece? And you just said it. So thank you.
Very cool.
All right. Well, Ryan, I never know how to sign off without it being awkward. But today, I'm going to say adios. Mucho gusto.
We just said goodbye.
There you go. Good job.
We hope you enjoyed today's episode. If so, will you help us reach more people by subscribing, sharing the podcast with a friend, and leaving a 5-star review? If you've been inspired by what you've heard today and want to learn more of how you can make a difference for kids in foster care and the foster families where you live, visit americaskidsbelong.org. We depend on individual donors to fund our work. We'd be grateful if you would consider joining us as a monthly donor. Visit americaskidsbelong.org to make your tax-deductible donation. Thank you. Together, we can ensure family for every child in foster care and a foster-friendly community to ensure every foster family feels loved and supported.